I'm Nick Altmeyer with linkinglewiscounty.com. We're here this afternoon with Lewis County Manager Ryan Pichet to discuss some updates on the JCC Educational Center project that the county has been pursuing over the past few months. So phase 2 of the bids came in, I believe it was, well, a week ago Friday now.
Yes.
Okay. And bids didn't come in quite as planned. They're a little higher than expected. So basically, $4 million has been earmarked for this project all along. Phase 1 bids came in a little under. Everyone had a great feeling about that at that time, but now it looks like the project's going to need an extra $2.5 million. So I think the legislators did have an executive session last night to discuss some legal matters regarding the bidding process. And coming out of the executive session, they did go ahead and award the phase 2 bids. So they also approved to increase the project amount to $6.5 million.
Correct.
So if you just want to address a little bit about the bidding process,
sure.
What kind of happened with that, how it came in so much more than expected, where the extra money's coming from, things of that nature.
Absolutely. So when we were looking for engineers for the project, one of the things that we, the county and the board, really liked about CNS, who was our engineer, was that they had the plan of cutting up the project into 2 phases so that we were on a very tight timeline, which I think everybody knows. We could start the excavation while the plans for the building were being finalized. And as Nick said, that worked out really, really well for phase 1. In fact, our highway department stepped up and did a lot of work, and we were able to save some money, and our bids came in very competitively for the phase 1 part of the project. And so that just left the phase 2 with actually a little bit of cushion, and the bids came in significantly higher than what was anticipated. And I think that's probably due to the tight timeline. I mean, it's it's going to be tough to get the building done in the time that we set forward to do it. But I also think it's a little bit about the bidding environment. Things are heating up right now. People are certainly not desperate for work. There's a lot to go around, and so I think the combination of those 2 things made the phase 2 bids come in higher than expected.
So material costs are a little higher now.
Absolutely.
Like steel, wood, things like that.
I think that has a little bit something to do with it. So altogether, the phase 2 portion of the bid came in at $4.1 million. So in order to accommodate the phase 2 along with the phase 1, which is already underway, the new project cost is $6.5 million.
Okay. And so that creates a difference of about $2.5 million between the original earmarked cost of the. So where were those funds had basically come from the hospital payments and I think some windmill pilot revenue that had been set aside to basically invest in education in Lewis County. So where will the remainder of the $2.5 million come from?
Yep. So like you said, Nick, the $4 million was set aside years ago actually for this project, and then there's an additional $250,000 that was secured through a state grant for the project. The additional funds we'll have to have more discussion with the board, but they'll probably be procured through some lending of some kind. The county has very little debt. We don't carry a high debt ratio at all, and a loan of $2 million or so is something that we could pay off quite easily over a 5-year period. So
okay. So the large section of the phase 2 bid was awarded to DC Building Systems.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were the ones that were awarded the bid last night. I think. Did they get part of the contract on the phase 1?
Correct. DC Building Systems has the phase 1 contract that was bid out at $1.9 million, and they were the low bid at $2.7 million for the phase 2 portion of the project. That includes the steel and the structure itself, basically, and the inside finish.
Okay. So, and I know just to clarify a little bit why the executive session was needed last night, and I don't know how deep you can go into this.
Oh, that's okay.
But when the bids were received, there were some issues with some of the bids.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we had a couple bidders back out. There were some questions about our authority to go after bid bonds, which, as you know, is a bond that companies put up that basically is insurance that their bid, if they back out or have made a mistake, the county isn't hung out to dry. There were some questions about that, and we don't we don't bid out large projects like this very often. So it was important that our attorney got to run through the legal options with the board. So that was the reason for the executive session.
Okay. So there's a couple other aspects of the Phase 2 project. One is the electrical component. So it looks like Amp Electric out of
Turn, I believe.
Okay, it just says Payne Road.
Okay. Yeah.
Looks like Amp Electric was the low bidder for that and was awarded that contract.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then there was a heating and cooling component.
So I think the plumbing and the HVAC contracts were awarded to Lawman Heating and Cooling Company.
Okay, and they're out of Sackett's Harbor. Okay, and so this is the final rounds of bid to be awarded on the project?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and is Phase 1 still on schedule with, I know they've been doing some work over there and timelines still?
I have said from the beginning we set an aggressive schedule. It was something that was certainly a goal that we were striving for. I would say that Phase 1 still is on pace. I think that part of the reason why the Phase 2 bids were so high was some concern about whether the project could, be reasonably complete in the timeline allotted. And so I think those contractors have some concerns, and of course we're going to monitor it and we're going to manage the project. But our hope is certainly still that we'll be up and running in time for the spring classes.
Okay, and just to clarify too that, and I think it's just to cover operational expenses of the building and things like that, but the county will be getting rent on the building from some of the entities that are going to be placed there. So you've got Cornell Cooperative Extension is going to be in there. BOCES is going to have some space in there, as well as JCC. So
correct. So the rent calculation is the amount that we'll charge JCC, is determined by the amount that it costs to operate the building. Okay. So we kind of tried to leave that a little bit flexible. If there's a chance that we can operate a little bit cheaper, then we can charge them a little less. If it costs a little more, we can charge them a little more. And it was intentionally left a little bit loose. So the goal is that the board from day one wanted to put money up for the capital aspect, and then not have to worry about operating expenses going forward. So if there is long-term debt that has to be paid off by the project, then I could see that potentially being rolled in partially into the rent as well. So there's lots of options.
Okay.
Going forward.
So basically, once the investment of the building is there, though, it's kind of a self-funded project from
That's correct. That's
point
the goal.
forward.
Yep. Budget neutral after the capital expenses, and then budget neutral after that. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time this afternoon to discuss that quickly. And
Anytime.
yeah, have a good day.
You too, Nick.
All right.